Hello all, welcome to GetintoIAS, and in this video we're going to deal with the chapter Inflation and Deflation. Very important chapter for prelims and as well as mains. Fine. Now moving to inflation. What is called as inflation? So the general rise in price level is called as inflation. Okay. So general rise in price level. For example, see, yesterday the product which I purchased was 100 rupees, but today the same product is 200 rupees. So there is a general rise in the price level that is denoted to be the inflation. So I'll repeat, see, so under inflation, the word inflation is often heard and seen in media. It is an important challenge for policymakers, politicians and also the common people. Inflation assumes such an importance due to its all-round implications. In contrary, deflation is less heard because this is a rare phenomenon. They are telling inflation is a common phenomenon, deflation is a rare phenomenon. We'll deal with deflation later. So see, so inflation deserves elaboration. Before getting into the subject matter of inflation, it is better to look into the index numbers and price indices first. See, coming to the price indices, we have two types of price indices under the inflation. First one is the wholesale price index and next one is the consumer price index. Okay, wholesale price index is otherwise called as general price index. What is it called as? General price index. So the tabular column I've listed here is very important because this was reflected in prelims 2020. Okay, so all the points reflected here was asked in three statements, under three statements. I'll let you all know what are the three statements. See, what is called as wholesale price index? The inflation in wholesale level. See, for example, if I run an industry, this retail shop owner comes and gets product on a wholesale level. So he'll get from 100 to 200 products at a time. Okay, maybe 1000 also. Fine. So that is a wholesale level. So the wholesale level inflation is calculated under WPI. So the price rise in the wholesale level. Next, coming to the consumer price index. Who are the consumers? We are the consumers. We don't go purchase in wholesale level. We don't get products around 100 to 200,000 at a time, right? We get one or two products only at a time. So we are the consumers at the retail level. So the retail price level, one or two products at a time. Only that price level rise is calculated under CPI, Consumer Price Index. Now coming to the WPI again. So who is calculating the wholesale price index? So the Office of Economic Advisor under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry calculates the what? WPI. And over here NSO, we already dealt with NSO. So NSO under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation calculates the Consumer Price Index. There is a base year for these two things. What is a base year? See, under the base year is 2011-12. So when it is 2014, the price rise, the WPI in 2014 will be compared with the WPI in 2011-12. So that is why the base year is used. See, base year over here is 2011-12, over here also it is 2012. So under WPI, what are the products calculated for WPI? First one is the primary articles, second one is the manufactured products, third one is the fuel and power. You have to keep this in mind. See, primary articles is calculated, manufactured products and fuel and power is calculated under WPI. Under CPI, the subheadings under CPI are food and beverages, pan, tobacco and intoxicants, clothing and footwear, housing, fuel and light and miscellaneous. Under miscellaneous, you have education, health and transportation. So all this is calculated under the CPI, Consumer Price Index. So which has the highest weightage over here? Under these three subheadings in WPI, which has the highest weightage? So the manufactured products has the highest weightage and in WPI, the food has the lowest weightage. Food items has the lowest weightage. So under the CPI, the food and beverages has the highest weightage. Fine. So you have to keep this in mind. Okay. This was asked in prelims 2020 and this was also asked in prelims 20. Under the three statements, this was one of the statement. Services is not included under the WPI. So under the wholesale price index, services is not included. But under CPI, services are included. That's why you have transportation over here, education over here, health over here. Okay. Next, coming to the last point under the WPI. It is not targeted by the RBI. This was asked in Prelims 2020. Fine. So this is not targeted by the what? By the RBI. RBI is doing inflation targeting. You know about that. We already dealt with that, right? So RBI is not taking WPI into account. It is taking CPI only into account, Consumer Price Index, and the inflation to be maintained in our Indian economy should be 4 plus or minus 2. We already dealt with it. So that should be 2 to 6%. Inflation should be maintained from 2 to 6%. If this is not maintained, RBI should write a written document to the government and it should give. So the transfer from WPI to CPI. See, earlier WPI only was used for inflation targeting, but now CPI is used, right? So the conversion from WPI to CPI was given by Urjit Patel committee. Very important. It is not given in your book, so please note it down. Okay. Next, moving to the Wpi Food Index. I told you all Wpi has given a lowest weightage to the food item. So it is calculated separately under a separate subheading, that is the Wpi Food Index. So under the Wpi Food Index, the primary food articles. So under this primary articles, we have food also, right? So the raw materials, all that come under this. And the manufactured food articles. We have the manufactured products here. Under this, we have the manufactured product like pickle and all that. From the raw material, we are making a manufactured food article. So that will be calculated here. Now coming to the very important thing, CPI. So under CPI, you have the industrial workers. So CPI IW, industrial workers, is calculated by whom? This is a previous year UPSC question. All I am going to discuss further is the previous year UPSC questions, okay, on prelims. So CPI IW, industrial workers, is calculated by Labour Bureau, Shimla, Ministry of Labour. So what is Consumer Price Index? Industrial workers, okay. See, so what is CPI industrial workers? This index measures the change in price of commodity basket consumed by the industrial worker. See, if I am an industrial worker, this is my consumption basket. So I may get milk, I may get I may get books for my children. So all this will be calculated under one basket. So this change in the price level from here to here. So for the industrial workers is calculated under CPI IW. I'll repeat C over here. The index measures the change in price of commodity basket consumed by the industrial workers. Fine. So the following table shows the weights for the different commodities. See, under this basket, what all commodities are calculated for the price change. Food is taken into account, pan, fuel and light, housing, clothing, bedding and footwear, and the last one is miscellaneous. So this is the basket for calculating CPI industrial workers. So please note it down in your book. Next one, coming to who releases the CPI IW, I already told you all. It is the Labour Bureau, Shimla, Ministry of Labour. Very important, please note this down. And next one, coming to the CPI urban non-manual employees. Okay. So under this, the index measures the change in the price of commodity basket consumed by the non-manual employees like office goers. So in case the IT companies, so people who are employed in the IT companies, they have a certain kind of basket. Okay. Same way like how the industrial workers has, these people also has certain kind of basket. The price change is also denoted according to this basket. Fine. These people are called as office goers. So they are non-manual employees. Okay, they are not agricultural workers or laborers. They are non-manual. They are office goers. Fine. I'll repeat. See, the index measures the change in the price of the commodity basket. This basket is called as commodity basket. The same basket. So consumed by non-manual employees like office goers. So CPI urban non-manual employees, earlier compiled by the Central Statistical Organization. Very important. Earlier it was compiled by CSO. What? CPI UNME was compiled by whom? CSO. But now it has been discontinued and is currently linked to the CPI IW. See, now CPI urban non-manual employees, that is the office goers commodity basket, is being linked to what? Is being linked to CPI industrial workers. Fine. So keep this in mind. Now coming to CPI rural laborers and agricultural laborers. Fine. Under this, see, Consumer Price Index for rural laborers measures the change in the price of a commodity basket consumed by rural laborers. So who are all the rural laborers? For example, the agricultural laborers, laborers of village and cottage industry, they also have certain kind of commodity basket. So in that commodity basket, the price rise is calculated. So all these comes under what? All these comes under CPI rural. What is for the CPI agricultural labors? So CPI AL. So CPI rural, we've done with that. Now coming to CPI AL. So under this, it is a subset of the CPI rural. So under the rural area only, right, you have agriculture. So it is a subset of what? CPI AL is a subset of CPI rural. Fine. Okay. See, it is used for revising minimum wages for agricultural laborers in different states. So in different states, the minimum wages is revised from time to time using the CPI agricultural labors, consumer price index agricultural labors. Why? Because see, today the commodity basket, the whole commodity basket for the agricultural labor may be 300 rupees, okay, 300 rupees. But due to price rise, this price rise, each product has a price rise, right? For example, this basket tomorrow may be 500 rupees. Where will this agricultural labor go for 500 rupees? He will have only 300 rupees in his hands, right? So, to increase the wages for these agricultural laborers, this commodity basket, the price rise in this commodity basket is taken into account. Next, coming to the new consumer price indices. See, the above old consumer price indices cover only a segment of population like agriculture, labor, industrial worker. We already saw here agricultural, laborers and then industrial workers. It is compiling only for a particular sector and not for the whole of the economy, right? It is compiling only for a particular sector, and hence for compiling for the whole of India, for the whole of state, for the whole of union territory, what is happening? We have the CPI rural, we have the CPI urban, we have the CPI combined. Okay, so all India, state level and the union territory level, the consumer price index is calculated. Now coming to the types of inflation. So very important, what are the types of inflation? See, inflation can be classified on the basis of rate of rise in prices and on the base of causes. So based on two things, inflation is divided. First one is the price rise, the general rise in the price level, and the second one is the causes. On what cause is this inflation happening? First one is the creeping inflation. So first one is what? Creeping inflation. Second one, walking or trotting inflation. Third one, running inflation. Fourth one, hyperinflation. So what is creeping inflation? See here, price rise at a very slow level, less than 3%, like that of a snail or a creeper, is called creeping inflation. It is regarded safe and essential for the economy. See, in our economy, at least there will be little amount of inflation. No economy will be like 0% inflation, and it is not good for the economy also. There is a little level of inflation, that is called as what? Creeping inflation. It will be like a snail or a creeper. So the inflation will be less than 3%, okay, and it is safe for our economy also. Next, moving to the walking or trotting inflation. So under this, price rise moderately at a rate of 3 to 7% or less than 10%. So it is moving from 3 to 7%, but it is less than 10% only. That is called as walking or trotting inflation. So over here, it is a warning signal to the government to be prepared to control inflation. So this walking inflation is telling the government, see, the inflation is rising at a faster rate, please control the price rise, okay? And now, if the inflation crosses this range, it will have serious implication on the economy and the individuals. So, if it is crossing this 10%, it will have a very serious implication on the economy. Okay. Next, coming to the running inflation. First is creeping, next is walking, third one is running. So, under this, running inflation means price rise rapidly like a running of a horse at the rate of 10 to 20% inflation. It affects the economy adversely. So, over here the inflation rate is 10 to 20%. The economy is already inflated. The price rise is very, very high. Moving to the last kind of inflation, hyperinflation. Over here the inflation is very, very high. For example, the country like Venezuela, okay, instead of using wood to burn, they are using money to burn. For example, see, if I am a citizen of Venezuela, for going and getting a piece of wood, okay, this cost me a lot. Instead, what I am doing, I am using the money of Venezuela and burning it. So, this is called as hyperinflation, okay. That is an example for hyperinflation. See, the price rise at very fast, at double or triple digit rate from 20% to 100%. Over here, it will go from 20 to 100% inflation, right. So, it is called as hyperinflation or runaway inflation or galloping inflation, right. Such a situation brings total collapse of the monetary system because of the continuous fall in the purchasing power of the money. See, over here I told there is no purchasing power for the money. If there was purchasing power, they would have never burnt the money, right. So, the money has no value. That is, the money has no purchasing power. Next, coming to the different types of inflation based on the causes. So we've done with different types of inflation based on the prices. Okay, now moving to the causes. So under causes you have two kinds of inflation. One is the demand pull inflation, next one is the cost push inflation. Very important and favorite topic under UPSC, right? What is demand pull inflation first? See, understand with an example. Over here, demand pull inflation arises due to higher demand for goods and services over the available supply. Look here, over there is an industry. Okay, the industry is producing what? Goods. Fine. This is called as supply. When the good is supplied to the market, it is called as supply. See, take any product like 5 chocolates. Okay, there are only 5 chocolates in the market, but my demand is 10 chocolates. Okay, 10 chocolates. I am demanding 10 chocolates from the market, but only 5 chocolates are there in the market. So there is a demand and supply mismatch, right? The supply is lesser, the demand is more. How did the demand become more? See, due to employment opportunities, people are getting work. So because of getting work, they have more amount of money supply in the hand. See, yesterday I was earning only 2 rupees. Today I am earning 10 rupees. That's why I am demanding 10 chocolates. Okay, so my demand is more, but the supply in the market is less. So this kind of inflation is called as demand pull inflation. So with this example, I think you got the point, the demand pull inflation. Fine. So the next kind of inflation is the cost push inflation. So same example, see, what is a cost push inflation? For example, I have an industry. Okay, I have an industry. So under this industry, I have people working under me. So for these people, I have to give what? Wages. I have to give what? Wages. So what these people are doing, yesterday they were getting only 10 rupees as wages per day. Today they are demanding 15 rupees wages per day, right? So there is an increase in the cost. I should pay them 5 more rupees extra. And so what is happening? I will increase the price of the chocolate. So yesterday in my company, the chocolate price was only 10 rupees. Now what I am doing, since I am increasing 5 more rupees for the wages, I am increasing the chocolate price also, because I have to pay for this person. I need my profit from the chocolate also. So what I am doing, I am increasing the price of the chocolate to 10 rupees. Yesterday it was 5, now it is 10. So what I will do, so what will the people in the economy do? Yesterday they was paying only 5 rupees for the chocolate. Today they are paying 10 rupees for the chocolate. So there is an increase in the price level due to the cost increase of the product. Okay, this is one kind. And another kind is, in case if the producer itself thinks he needs profit, what he'll do is he will increase the price of the commodity. So he'll increase the price of the chocolate from 5 to 10 rupees, and this is called as cost push inflation. See over here, price rise due to increased input costs like raw material, wages, profit margin, etc. is called as cost push inflation. Okay, so both demand pull and cost push inflation are affected by forces of demand and supply. Over here also demand and supply, over there also demand and supply. Fine. Now under inflation, we saw that both demand pull inflation and cost push inflation are affected by forces of demand and supply. So let's deal with the forces of demand and supply. First thing, let's deal with the factors that affect the demand. First factor is increase in the money supply. You know how this works. See, first case, if there is a company, okay, there is a company. This company is giving an employment opportunity for a lot of people, and because of this, these people has a lot of money in their respective hands. Okay, these people have a lot of money. They tend to spend this money in the economy. So the money supply is increasing. Because of money supply is increasing, the demand is increasing, and because of this money supply, the demand is increasing. That is the first cause. That is the increase in the money supply. Coming to the next cause, increase in the disposable income. What is called as disposable income? For example, see, I am earning 100 rupees. Okay, my monthly income is 100 rupees. So in this 100 rupees, what I am doing is, see, I pay a tax amount of 10 rupees. So after paying tax amount of 10 rupees, the total amount in my hand is 90 rupees. So this 90 rupees I am using to spend. So this 90 rupees is my disposable income. So after paying all my taxes and duties, the remaining amount in my hand is used for spending. That is called as increase in disposable income. Okay, today my disposable income is 90. Tomorrow it may be 110. Day after it may be 150. So how many times the disposable income is increasing, so many times my demand will also increase. Okay, and the money supply will also increase. This is one of the factors that affects demand. Next one, coming to cheap money policy. What is called as cheap money policy? See, for example, I am appearing a bank for loan. Okay, that bank provides me loan. After getting that loan, I am using that loan for investment. Why I am getting that loan first of all? See, I am getting that loan because bank is providing me that loan at a lower interest rate. Okay, that is called as cheap money policy. See, 100 rupees I am borrowing from bank. Yesterday the interest rate was 10%. So I had to pay a total of 110 to the bank. But today the interest rate is only 5%. So I have to pay back to the banks only 105 rupees. So I am running to the bank, getting the loan. Okay, so I do investment in the economy. After investment, I give employment opportunity. After that, again the demand will increase. If the demand will increase, the price rise will increase. That causes inflation. Okay, this is what is cheap money policy. Next, coming to increase in the public expenditure. What is public expenditure? Public expenditure is nothing but the increase in the government expenditure. So normally the government will spend for its people, right? While spending, it is giving money in our hands, right? It is giving money in our hands. So this money causes what? This money causes demand in the economy. By that, the price rises for both goods and services. Next, coming to the repayment of public debt. See, under this, the repayment of public debt borrowed by the government to the public leaves people with more money. See, for example, if the government borrowed from the public, from the market through bonds, okay? So I am going and purchasing this government bond from government. Okay, I am going and purchasing this government bond from the government. Later the government has to repay my debt back to me, right? So it has to repay the borrowed money back to me. When it is repaying, I am having a lot of money in my hand. So under that, the demand will increase again and the price also will rise again. That is called as what? Repayment of public debt. Now coming to the factors affecting supply. So under this, there is a shortage of factors of production. What is supply? See, supply is, in case if I have a company, today I am producing 2 packets of chocolate. Tomorrow what I am doing? I am producing 10 packets of chocolate. So my supply has increased. Okay. Shortage in the factors of production is, today I am producing 2, tomorrow I am producing only 1. That is the shortage. Okay. See, the first one is shortage of factors of production. So the shortage in factors of production, land, labor, capital. These are all the factors of production. Land, labor and then capital increases the cost of production. See, if in case I have less amount of land or less amount of labor or less amount of capital, this will increase the cost of production for me. If the cost of production is increased, what I will do? I will cut my supply. My supply will be cut. So on that, the shortage of factors of production occurs. For example, shortage in the labor leads to higher wages. It increases the cost of production and the price of goods and services. Okay. See, yesterday I was employing 10 people. But today what is happening is 5 people resigned from my company. I have only 5 people at hand. So what these 5 people are thinking, there is a shortage of what? Laborers. So what we will do? We will demand higher wages. So what these people will do, 5 people, they will demand higher wages from the employer. So he has to give a lot of money to them from the earlier time. Okay. So under this, what the producer will think? He will cut the supply. So under the shortage of factors of production will happen. Next, coming to the industrial disputes. What are the industrial disputes? So under this, industrial disputes leads to strike or layoff. Strike or layoff. It affects the production and supply of goods. It results in increased price. See, under here, if the laborers strike for a very long time, the production in the company won't happen. In that place, the shortage in the products will take place, and hence what will happen? The supply will come down and hence the price will rise, right? If the demand increases, the price will rise, and the supply decreases also, the price will rise because there are lesser amount of products in the market. Next, coming to the natural calamities. So natural calamities like earthquake, landslide, tsunami affects production and the supply of goods and services. The end result is price rise. Okay. So all these natural calamities are also causes for price rise. Next, coming to the artificial scarcity. So you already know about the term called as hoarding, right? So that causes artificial scarcity in the market. So artificial scarcity created by activities like hoarding and speculative trading in commodities in the commodities future market result in price hike. For example, see, onions, tomatoes, so all these are being hoarded by the middlemen. So they are getting it from the farmers, storing it for a very long time and creating an artificial demand in the economy. So by decreasing the supply in the market, what they are doing? They are creating an artificial demand, and hence later what is happening? The price will rise. So this is called as what? Artificial scarcity. Next, coming to the increase in exports. So under this subheading, increase in exports of a particular commodity leads to shortage of goods in the domestic market. It pushes up price. See over here, take the same example. Onions are there. If onions are exported from India to US at a larger extent, a demand will be created in the domestic market, right? A demand will be created here because there are no onions in India. Everything is being exported to US because of the profit level, and hence that is called as what? That is called increase in export, that is affecting the factors of supply. Okay. So next, coming to the effects of inflation. We saw about inflation and the factors affecting the demand, factors affecting the supply. Now moving to the effects of inflation. So under this, inflation has an impact on all the economic units. Fine. It has a favorable impact on some and unfavorable impact on the others. So the effects are discussed under 3 different heads. So first one is the redistribution of income and wealth. So it redistributes income from one hand to another. It leads to loss for one group and gain for the other group. Okay. First example, take debtors versus creditors. Debtors versus creditor. So who is a debtor? Okay. If I borrow money from someone, I am a debtor. But who is giving that money? He is called as a creditor, right? So who is gaining during inflation? Who is losing during inflation? You have to keep that in mind. See, debtor is the gainer. This is a previous year UPSC question. So please listen to it carefully. Debtor is the gainer during inflation. Creditor is the loser during inflation. How? See, today I am borrowing 100 rupees from this creditor. So I am borrowing 100. Okay. The rate of interest is 5%. So when I am repaying back to the creditor, I have to repay how much? 105 rupees. So stop here. Stop here. Over here, see, in case of a debtor and a creditor, I'll repeat, debtor is the gainer and the creditor is the loser. Take an example. The debtor borrowed how many rupees? 100 rupees at an interest rate of what? 5%. So when he has to pay back, how much he has to pay back? 105 rupees, right? So the price of the mango on one day, on day 1 is 10 per mango. So on the day when he purchased, on the day when he borrowed the money, the price of the mango was, one mango was 10 rupees. One mango was how much rupees? Only 10 rupees. So the debtor can buy 10 mangoes. So with this 100 rupees, what he can do? He can buy 10 mangoes. So one mango is 10 rupees. He can buy 10 mangoes for 100 rupees. Right. Now what is happening? So on the day 2, the price of the mango is 15 rupees. Now what is happening? Inflation. Inflation means price rise. From 10 rupees, the mango's rate went to 15 rupees. So one mango cost how much rupees? 15 rupees on day 2. Now what is happening? The debtor can sell 10 mangoes for 150. So what the debtor is doing today? He purchased yesterday 10 mangoes. Today, the mango rate is 15 rupees. So he is selling how much mangoes? 10 mango. One mango is 15 rupees means 10 into 15 is equals to 150 rupees he is earning. He is earning a total of 150. He invested how much? Only 100. His profit is 50 rupees. Okay, his profit is how much? 50 rupees. Now he has to repay to whom? Repay to the creditor. We'll see here. So the debtor can repay his debt by selling only 7 mangoes. So in this 10 mangoes, if he has sold only 7 mangoes, he can repay the 105 rupees. So 7 mangoes, 7 into 15 is 105. So only by selling 7 mangoes, he can repay this 105 rupees to the whom? To the creditor. Fine, right? See over here, so he gains how much rupees? 45 rupees. So 150 is the total amount he received. In that he is paying 105 rupees. So 150 minus 105 rupees. So over here 45 rupees is the gain for the whom? Gain for the debtor. Right? So he gains 45 or 3 mangoes. So in case over here 10 minus 7 is 3 mangoes is his gain or 45 rupees is his gain. Okay. So the creditor can buy only 7 mangoes with 105 rupees. Now the creditor has how many rupees in his hand? He has 105 rupees repaid by the debtor. But how much mangoes can he purchase? Only 7 mangoes he can purchase and not 10 mangoes. Yesterday with that 100 rupees he could have purchased how much mangoes? 10 mangoes. Now due to inflation he can purchase how much? Only 7 mangoes. So who is the gainer here? So the debtor gained 45 rupees. But see, the creditor lost. He is not able to get 10 mangoes. He is able to get only 7 mangoes. So who is the gainer? Debtor. Who is the loser? Creditor. I hope you got this point. Next, coming to the producer versus the consumer. So who is gaining here? Producer is the gainer, consumer is a loser. That's why during inflation targeting, the consumers will get affected due to inflation. Fine, that's why the inflation is kept 4 plus or minus 2. Okay, so we'll see how. We'll see with an example. See, the inflationary situation, the producer stands to gain and the consumer stands to lose. How? The producer's profit will increase as a result of inflation, because inflation means price rise. Yesterday the product was sold at 10 rupees. Today the product is sold at 15 rupees. So who is the gainer? The producer. Who is the loser? The consumer, because he has to pay 5 more rupees, etc. Next, coming to the third example, flexible income group versus the fixed income group. Flexible means yesterday I was working in another job. Today I am working in another job. Yesterday was a different job. Today is a different job. Coming to the fixed income group, yesterday I worked in the same job. Today also I am working in the same job. I am getting the same income. Under the flexible, see, yesterday I was earning 10,000 rupees. Today I am earning 60,000 rupees because of my flexible employment. See, in fixed income group, yesterday I earned 10k. Today also 10k. I am not able to increase my income. So who is the gainer here? The gainer is the flexible income. And who is the loser? Fixed income. We'll see how. See, the flexible income groups like the sellers, self-employed and employees of private concerns whose salary is adjusted according to inflation do not get affected. But fixed income groups like daily wage earners lose as the purchasing power of the income diminishes. So over here under the fixed income group, the purchasing power, right? See, only 10k. Over here, I adjust my income according to the inflation, right? According to the inflation, I get the income, right? For example, see the producers. He is a self-employed person. See, under this producer, what he'll do? He will get what? So he will change his employment regularly. That is, yesterday he may be producing what? He may be producing chocolates. So today the rate of the chocolates went down. So tomorrow what he'll do? He'll produce some other product that is yielding more amount of money. So for him, he is the gainer. Under the fixed income, this purchasing power will come down. That's why the fixed income group is the loser. Next, coming to the debentures or bond holders and savers versus the equity holders. Who are the debentures or the bond holders and the savers? See, debentures or bond holders or savers means I am saving. I am what? I am saving. But the equity holders is I am investing. Okay, we'll see who are the losers and the gainers. The bond issuer, for example, take the government. Government is issuing bond and for that issued bond, it is getting money. Right, it is getting money. So the bond issuer will be the gainer here and the bond holder, I got this bond, so I will be the loser during inflation. How? I'll let you all know. See here, the debentures or bond holders and savers receive fixed periodical income from their financial asset. See, I got the bond, so I will get what? Fixed periodical income or the interest rate from the bond. See, at the end of this month, I am getting 5 rupees as interest rate. So that is my fixed income. Monthly I will get. Okay. The purchasing power of their asset remains intact only if the interest rate is more than the inflation. If the inflation is 4%, okay, but my interest rate is 5%, then I am at the safer place. So I'll repeat, see, the inflation is 4%, but the interest rate, that is for 100 rupees bond, my interest rate is 5%. So monthly I'll be getting 5 rupees. So this is fine. So I'll repeat again, the debentures or bond holders and savers receive fixed periodical income from their financial asset. This is a financial asset. The bond is a financial asset for them. Okay. The purchasing power of their asset remains intact only if the interest rate is more than the rate of the inflation. So interest rate is more than the rate of the inflation. Take an example where the interest rate is 8%. So they themselves gave an example. Interest rate is how much? 8%. The investor can earn rupees 8 from 100 investment. I invested rupees 100 in this bond. So I am earning how much? 8 rupees. 8 rupees in that 100 rupees investment. Okay. Suppose if the rate of inflation is 10%. See, the rate of inflation is greater than the rate of interest. How much? 10%. 2% more than my rate of interest. Right. See over here. So he can buy fewer goods than that of his purchase before inflation with the invested amount. See over here. Now the inflation rate is more. I told you consumer will get more affected. Because of this, I am getting only what? 108 rupees. So I invested 100 rupees. I am getting only 108 rupees. But in the economy, the inflation is 10%. So I have to spend 110 rupees in the market. So this is how, if the inflation rate is more than my interest rate, I will get affected. So who is the loser here? The bond issuer is the gainer. This government is the gainer. But the bond holder is the loser because the inflation rate is more. Okay. So now coming to the term called as inflation indexed bonds. What are called as inflation indexed bonds? So to tackle this situation, that is when the inflation rate is more than my interest rate, there is a bond called as inflation indexed bond, right? See over here, the bond issuer gains, the bond holder loses. We saw here, bond holder will lose. So the fixed interest rate paid for the bonds are not enough to compensate the effect of inflation. We saw here, this fixed interest rate is not enough to compensate the inflation rate, and hence to avoid this, interest rate is fixed on the basis of inflation. So over here what is happening? It means the interest varies according to the inflation. So over here always your interest, your rate of interest should be more than the inflation rate. For example, if the inflation is 10%, your rate of interest should change to 11%. That is called as inflation indexed bonds. Okay. So now let's move into the effects on production and consumption. Production is nothing but production of goods and services. Consumption is we consumers will consume the goods and services. So under this, the inflation may lead to fall in the demand for goods and services. So in case if there is inflation, it will lead to the fall in demand of goods and services. Okay. So under this, it may curtail the amount of production. We already dealt with this. So inflation also leads to reallocation of resources. Sometimes only few goods may experience price rise. In the case, the investment from other sector may shift to these sectors. See, in case if there is a price rise in one sector, sometimes what will happen, this investment will get shifted to another resources. So due to inflation, the shifting from one resources to another resources takes place. Okay. And in packaged items, in order to maintain the same price per package, the producer reduces the quantity or quality or both instead of raising the price. It means less production and consumption. See here, due to inflation. Due to what? Inflation, there is a packet of whole grain. Okay. Packet of whole grain yesterday was 50 rupees. Okay. Now what happened? So due to inflation, the price of the packet should rise. See over here, 50 rupees. Due to inflation, it is 70 rupees. Okay. Who will tend to buy this packet of grains? No one. Okay. For that, what the producer will do, he will reduce the quantity in this packet. Yesterday, the quantity in the packet was full. Today, it is only little is reduced from this packet. He will reduce the quantity or he will reduce the quality of the grains. Okay. So this will be done by the producer. Fine. So they are telling it means less production and consumption. Fine. Next, moving to the other effects. Other effects are the balance of payments. What is balance of payments? See here, high price reduces the amount of export and increases import from other countries where goods are available at cheaper rate. For example, in India, okay, take the same packet. The same packet is 50 rupees today, but in another country it is only 30 rupees. So what we will do, will we buy the 50 rupees packet or the 30 rupees packet? And hence what we will do is, we will import a lot of these whole grain packets, right? Because the price is high over here. Who will tend to buy? No one will buy from India, and hence a lot of products will be imported from another country. So what is happening is, under balance of payment, the import, right, will become more, export will become less. Is this good for a nation? No, because when the import is more, we have to spend a lot of foreign currency, right? But when the exports are more, we will get a lot of forex reserves, right? So when we import more, a lot of our currency are going out because we are letting out the foreign currencies. And when the export is very less, it is very dangerous for our economy. So this is called as balance of payment crisis, right? So over here, next one is the exchange rate. Under the other effects, we have the exchange rate. So under the exchange rate, high import and low export means high demand for foreign currencies compared to the domestic currency. This depreciates the domestic currency. See over here, what is called as exchange rate. So under this, I'll explain it here. See, $1 will be equal to 50 rupees. $1 will be equal to 50 rupees yesterday. But due to high imports, if we import a lot, we should spend a lot of foreign currency. So there is a demand for foreign currency in India more than our domestic currency. Our domestic currency is not in demand, that is the rupees is not in demand, but the dollars are in demand, right? So that leads to depreciation of our currency, that is $1 will become 70 rupees. This is called as depreciation. So to to import a product, yesterday I was paying only 50 rupees. But today, to import the same product, I am paying 70 rupees. I am paying something more from my hand. Okay, so these are the other effects of the exchange rate. That is why we have the market stabilization scheme that we already dealt. Fine. Now moving to the social and political. So under this, high rate of inflation leads to social and political tension, right? So the political parties and the organized group of people call for strike, hartals and stage dharnas. So all these strikes, hartals and all will be happening in our country because of inflation, fine, because of the price rise. Next, moving to the measures to control inflation, very important, very important for both prelims and mains. There are two kinds of measures. One is the monetary measure and another one is the administrative measure, fine. Now moving to the monetary measure, measures to control inflation. Under that, first one is the monetary measure. Under this, the first one is the credit control. Very important, credit control. See, credit control method is used by RBI. Who is using this method? RBI, that is the central bank, to control inflation. So, what is happening is, we already saw about WPI and CPI, right? To control inflation, RBI is taking into account CPI. Earlier, it was taking into account WPI, but due to the recommendation of Urjit Patel committee, it was shifted from WPI inflation targeting to CPI inflation targeting, right? So, under this, the reason that the CPI, why we are taking CPI combined is, it measures the inflation in consumer market. So, we saw about the CPI rural, CPI urban and CPI combined. RBI is taking the CPI combined for the inflation targeting. Why? Because it takes into inflation of the consumer market. So, under the wholesale price index, only the wholesale level trading is taken into account. But under the CPI, the consumers, the basic people in our economy is taken into account. So, it reflects the true and correct cost of living compared to WPI. So, the correct cost of living is calculated using the CPI. So, the people expectation about future inflation is also based on the price level in the consumer market. So, there are two reasons. So, that's why they are calculating with the help of CPI. Next, coming to the demonetization of currency. You will be familiar with the demonetization of currency. See, so we've done with credit control. Now, moving to demonetization. So, demonetization of currency refers to the declaration that hereafter currencies of a particular denomination are invalid. We already saw, see, if there is a 10 rupees note or 500 rupees note or 100 rupees note, the government will let us know that this is not valid hereafter. Hereafter, if I go to the economy or if I go to the shop and pay this 10 rupees, that shopkeeper won't accept that. That is called as demonetization, okay? And then it suddenly reduces the money to the extent of the money kept in those particular denomination. It is resorted to only in extreme cases only demonetization will take place, okay? So, under the measures to control inflation. For example, see, at home I'll be having 10 rupees note and 500 rupees note and 100 rupees note. Because of demonetization, I should return all these amount back to the RBI, that is to the banks. So, the money in my hand is getting reduced. So, during inflation, what should happen? The money in my hand should get reduced. That is what is called as credit control. And after that, due to demonetization also, what is happening? The money in my hand is getting reduced. The amount of money is getting reduced. Moving to the issue of new currency. So, under the issue of new currency, see, in this case, all the money in circulation is withdrawn by the government and new currency will be issued. See, what and all money we are having, we should go give it back to the government and new currency will be issued in place of the old currency. That is called as issue of new currency. So, under this also, demonetization and issue of new currency will take place in extreme cases of inflation, prolonged inflation. Next, coming to the fiscal measures. So, we've done with the monetary measures. Now, moving to the fiscal measures. So, under this, the first one is the reduction in the unnecessary expenditure. We already saw inflation is a general rise in price level. So, if the government is spending more and more, people is getting more and more amount of money in their hands. But that should be controlled. So, under this, we have reduction in unnecessary expenditure. So, reduction of unnecessary government expenditure means less demand from the government side. it brings down the price level. See, normally the government will spend on people. If it is spending on people, the demand will increase. If demand increases, the inflation also increases. But when you cut the government expenditure, this inflation can be controlled. Next, coming to the increase in direct taxes. See, I already told you all, the amount of money in our hands should be reduced to control inflation. So when the government increases the direct taxes, for example, 100 rupees is my income, I am paying what? 10% of income tax. So under this, 10 rupees I will pay as income tax. But if the direct taxes are increased, say from 10% to 20%, so today I should pay 20 rupees as income tax. So my disposable income here reduces. See, over here my disposable income is 90 rupees. Over here my disposable income is only 80 rupees. So by this the inflation can be controlled. Next, moving to the decrease in the indirect taxes. So what? Decrease in the indirect taxes. So under this, decrease in the indirect taxes like excise duty, sales tax brings down the prices. For example, see, if there is a production company, okay, if there is a company that is producing chocolate, okay, producing chocolate, this company, this production company has to pay a tax of 10 rupees to the government. Okay, so by paying this tax of 10 rupees, how they are compensating? They are increasing 10 rupees in this chocolate, okay. So the cost of the chocolate was only 50 rupees. So by paying excise duty to the government, that cost is being covered in the chocolate. So what the producer will do, he will increase 10 more rupees in this chocolate. So the total rate of the chocolate will be 60 rupees, right? Now what the government will do, it will decrease this indirect tax. So from 10 rupees, it will decrease to 5 rupees, and by that what will happen? The cost of the chocolate is 50 rupees, plus now the producer is increasing the cost of chocolate to 5 rupees only. So now the cost of the chocolate is 55 rupees. Earlier it was 60 rupees. So by this you can control the price or the inflation in our economy. Now moving to the surplus budget. What is called as surplus budget? Under this, surplus budget means less expenditure than the receipts. So under budget, you have expenditure and receipts. We already dealt with this, right? So under this, the government expenditure should come down and the receipts should go up, okay? If the government's expenditure comes down only, the inflation can be controlled. So this is called as surplus budget. When you're decreasing your expenditure, the government has more amount of money in its hand rather than the public. That is called as surplus budget, okay? See, it reduces the money supply and the government demands for goods and services. The price level is brought down due to this. So by this, the price level will be brought down. That is, the inflation will be brought down. So next one is the trade measures. So what are the trade measures? See, trade measures refers to export and import of goods and services. So in case of shortage of goods in domestic market, the supply can be increased through import of goods from foreign countries at low or nil import duty. So in case, see, in our economy in India, if we have low production means the demand will increase. The demand increases, there will be price rise. If there is price rise, there will be inflation. So to counter this, what the government should do, it should import the product from outside country. So with nil or very little import duty, okay. Because of this, the price of the product will be contained. It will be less or at the moderate level. So people can go get the product easily. So if the import duty is increased, then the product price also will be increased, right? So if the product price increases, again it will cause inflation, right? So it should be imported at nil or the import duty should be less, okay? So this is how the trade measures are carried out in the fiscal measures. Next, the restriction in the form of import licenses has to be eased to increase import. So this import license is right, that restrictions has to be eased for more amount of import from a foreign country. So the higher supply helps to bring down the price. So the higher supply will help to bring down the price. For example, earlier there was a demand here for that product. Now we are importing that product from some other country. Now what is happening? The demand is coming down, the supply is increasing. So by this, the price level can be contained. Fine. Next, moving to the administrative measures. So we've dealt with the monetary measures, fiscal measures. Now moving to the administrative measures. So the next one is the administrative measures. So under the administrative measures, you have the rational wage policy, you have the price control, and you have the rationing. Okay. So under the rational wage policy helps to keep the cost of production under control. Cost control here refers to price control. See over here, The cost of production means, see over here, wage policy. For example, if there is a company, if the laborers in the company are expecting more amount of wages. So more amount of wages means what the producer will do, he'll increase the cost of the product. So if the cost of the product is increased, what will happen? It will lead to general price rise. If there is price rise, it will lead to inflation. And hence what the administrative measures is telling us to do? It is telling us to ration the wage policy. That is, the laborers should not demand for higher wages. So it should be at an optimum level. If yesterday it was 50 rupees, today also the wages should be 50 rupees. There should not be an increase in the wages. Fine. Okay, so this is called as rational wage policy. Next is the price control. So under price control, direct price control also helps in inflation control. Price can be controlled by fixing maximum price limits through administrated price system and subsidy from the government. See, for example, there is a product, there is a chocolate, okay. For this chocolate, the maximum price is fixed by the government as 50 rupees. So the chocolate's price should not increase more than this 50 rupees. It should not be 60 rupees. Okay. So this price is fixed by the government. This is called as direct price control method. Okay. Next, coming to rationing. So under rationing of goods in short supply keeps the demand in control so that the price comes under control. See, under this they will see to that the demand and the supply is kept at an optimum level so that the demand doesn't go up and the supply also doesn't come down. This is called as rationing. Fine. Next, moving to the related terms in this lesson, we saw about inflation. What is called as deflation? Deflation is the opposite of inflation. So inflation is the general rise in the price level. Deflation is the general fall in the price level. So general fall in the price level is called as what? Deflation, right? So over here, see, deflation is the opposite of inflation. The persistent and appreciable fall in the general level of prices is called as deflation. So the rate of change of price index is negative here. So under inflation, the rate of change will be positive and very high. So over here it will start coming down. So it is in the negative column. See this diagram. This is called as deflation. Over here it is in the negative side. But inflation is in the positive side. Okay. Inflation is in the positive side. Deflation is the fall in prices. So that is why it is in the negative side. Okay. So the effects, causes and measures are also in the opposite direction. Next, coming to reflation. What is called as reflation? So you have deflation here. When it is rising, it is called as reflation. See, the curve is going upper. So this is called as reflation. So reflation means deliberate action of the government to increase rate of inflation to stimulate the economy. It is usually done to redeem the economy from the deflationary situation. So over here, the price is falling very low. So the government will come and play its role here. So after deflation, reflation will happen. The price will start rising at a minimum level. I told generally in our economy, there should be at least a little amount of inflation. So around 3% is fine. We already saw this, right? So the government will try to reflate the economy from deflation. Okay. Next, moving to disinflation. So you have deflation, reflation, and again inflation means price rise. Disinflation means again it is coming down. So see this graph properly. Deflation, reflation, again inflation, again coming down is called as disinflation. So the rate of inflation at a slower rate is called as disinflation. For example, if the inflation of the last month was 6% and the rate of inflation in the current month is 5%, it is termed as disinflation. See, last month the inflation was 6%. Now that inflation is trying to come down to 5%. This is called as disinflation. Fine. After disinflation, we have something coming to the negative part, that is called as deflation again. Okay. So again this cycle will go and come down. Next one is the Phillips curve. What is called as the Phillips curve? So the Phillips curve shows the relationship between the rate of inflation and the rate of unemployment. So see this curve, we have rate of inflation and we have rate of unemployment. So this inflation and unemployment is a relatable term in the Phillips curve. See here, it shows the relationship is negative. So the relationship between inflation and unemployment is negative. Fine, keep this in mind, it is negative. So that is at high inflation rate, the unemployment rate is low as shown in the figure. See over here, please understand this concept. When there is high inflation, See, normally when there is investment in the economy, more amount of jobs will be created. So jobs means more amount of employment is created. When more amount of employment is created, people will get more amount of money as salary. When they have more amount of money, the money supply in the economy will be more. When money supply is more, the demand will be more. Fine. So this is called as what? So when the demand is more, the inflation will be more, right? So I'll repeat, see, when there is an investment by the producer, there will be more amount of job, that is employment will be created, and there will be more amount of money, and there is more amount of money, there is more amount of money supply, and after that there is more amount of demand. When demand is created, inflation is created, right? So when the rate of inflation is high, it means that the unemployment is low because the employment is also increasing, right? So get this point, when the rate of inflation is high, the employment is increasing, that is the unemployment is coming down. So you have to relate and learn the Phillips curve. See, I'll repeat it. That is, at a high rate of inflation, the unemployment rate is low. Okay, keep this point. That is why it is negative. Both are opposite. When rate of inflation is high, the unemployment will be low. That is why it is termed as negative. Okay. So next, moving to the stagflation. What is called as stagflation? See, over here we saw deflation, reflation, inflation, disinflation, and again deflation, right? What is stagflation? The current economy now what we are facing is stagflation. Okay, stagflation is nothing but stagflation refers to the situation of coexistence of stagnation and inflation in the economy. So this word stag is stagnation plus flation means inflation. So stag plus inflation gives stagflation. What is stag over here? We'll decode the word stag. Stag means low national income growth. That is, low GDP growth is called as what? Stag. It is called as stagnation. Okay. So what is called as inflation? Inflation means, you know, there is a general price rise. There is a general price rise. Okay. So under this, I'll repeat. See, stagnation means low national income growth and high employment. So right now what we are facing in our economy is very high amount of unemployment. So now many people are unemployed in our economy, right? Along with that, a very low GDP growth rate. GDP growth rate is called as what? Stagflation. So please keep this point in mind. Stagflation means low GDP growth rate plus very high unemployment in our economy. Fine. So the Phillips curve shows that at a high rate of inflation, there is a low rate of unemployment. So we saw about the Phillips curve, but the stagflation is very opposite to the Phillips curve. We already saw about the Phillips curve. The opposite of Phillips curve is the stagflation. So please keep this in mind also. Now moving to the last topic of this lesson, core inflation. What is called as core inflation? See here. The core inflation is the measure of price rise in the economy, excluding the price rise of certain products. What are those certain products? See, those products are those whose prices are very volatile, okay, and temporary in nature. For example, see, the prices of fruits and vegetables, okay, are very volatile. The prices of petroleum and crude oil are very volatile. For example, the food and fuel will come under the volatile prices. The prices of fruits and vegetable will keep changing from time to time. Yesterday, price of 1 kg of apple will be 40, but today it will be 60. So there is a drastic change, right? So when there is a volatility in the price change, so when there is a volatility, those are excluded. So those are excluded from the inflation. So that is called as core inflation. I'll repeat. See, for example, these products like fruits and vegetables are excluded from the inflation because of high price volatility. So these products are very seasonal. So during the season, they are available in plenty and the prices are low. You know, when there is a season for a particular fruit or vegetable, the price will be very low, right? But during the off season, these are scarce and the prices are high. So when there is an off season, what you will do when you go ask for the price in the market, the price will be very high, right? So it means the prices are temporary and volatile. It keeps changing from time to time. So it is measured to study the long-term trend in the price rise so that the long-term policies can be framed to control inflation. So why are these volatile products being excluded is core inflation is used to calculate the long-term trends in inflation. So then only the government can frame policies regarding the long-term inflation, right? So that is why the core inflation excludes the fruits, vegetables, that is especially the food and fuel products. And with this, we come to the end of the lesson, inflation and deflation. Thank you for watching and please subscribe to GetintoIAS. and follow our Telegram channel link in the description box given below. Thank you.